Prime Minister, thanks for joining us today. Great to be here at the Garma Festival with you as always. In your speech you spoke about green resources and really green resources being the best way forward for economic prosperity for First Nations communities. How do you actually see that working, given that there's already lots of partnerships with mining interests and across Australia, but there doesn't really seem to be long-lasting benefits for communities close by? How do you actually see that working for First Nations people? Is it something you will enshrine in legislation?
Well, part of it will be included in the community inclusion provisions that are in the Future Made in Australia Act. We see economic empowerment as being really important going forward. We don't see it as one size fits all, but what you see with the economic transformation that will occur is increasingly economic activity move north in Australia with critical minerals, with the opportunity that's there for us to move to be a renewable energy superpower, with defence and security related issues arising from the national defence initiatives that we've undertaken. All of those making a difference, and all of those presenting an opportunity, but also making sure that we have the education and facilities available too, to make sure that Indigenous Australians can fill those jobs. So the replacement of the CDP with the Remote and Regional Jobs Program aimed at real jobs with real wages and conditions, not just a make work program, which is what the old CDP was seen as, which is why it was discredited within the communities.
I want to talk about closing the gap. The targets, the Productivity Commission have said this week that the targets are failing. You've been in government 2 years, you've been in opposition, you've seen target year after year come, the targets are failing. To you, why are we failing at meeting those targets?
Well, there's no simple answer to that question, unfortunately. If there was, then governments would have grabbed it, and what we're doing at the moment isn't working. So that needs to be acknowledged, that we're going back in too many areas of the closing the gap targets. Only 4 or 5 are on track at this stage to be met. But it's also about celebrating the successes. I think we do need to be optimistic. When you look at some of the educational attainment in this local community, where your new people have set up educational institutions and schooling that have high retention, meeting people here, young women doing law degrees and engaging in the future is terrific. One way in which we're able to move forward and get that learning on country is really important as well, so that people can walk in two worlds.
We were here last year. They presented you again with a gift to say, take this message forward to the Australian people, and honoured you for your commitment. You were emotional last year. You were emotional again this year when you received sort of their thanks for taking that commitment to the Australian people. What commitment are you going to take to the next election for Yolngu leaders and also for First Nations people?
Well, the economic empowerment that I spoke about today is a framework that we will take forward, and everything within that. So we've had a $4 billion commitment to remote housing here in the Territory, because we understand that that is a first step. If you don't have a secure roof over your head, you're not going to get successful education outcomes, and there'll be health impacts as well. So we're working right across the framework, with economic empowerment being the key to that long-term sustainability, but also how do we improve education outcomes, how do we close the gap when it comes to health outcomes. There's not a single commitment that will fix what is not so much a gap, but it's a chasm that exists between First Nations people and other Australians. They stand out, which is why we've been working with people. The other commitment, of course, that we've made, which is consistent with the principle of why we supported the call that was gracious and generous in the Uluru Statement from the Heart for constitutional recognition through a voice, was we'll continue to listen and engage and consult.
You saw Jala Yunupingu give you a sacred object. The Yolngu leaders honoured you for their commitment of taking that. For what does that mean to you personally?
It's incredibly humbling, and I am so inspired by the resilience of First Nations people. I want an Australia where First Nations people have the same opportunity as other Australians to be the best they can be, and the spirit which is here is one which I always find it an incredibly positive experience. I note that not everyone is here this weekend, and I think that's a pity, because they would be welcomed and would be uplifted by being here as I am.
Yeah, they will be welcome, and it's an inspiring place. Prime Minister, I know your time is precious. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks very much.